What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Ross, the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, we're going to talk about the Bill Belichick hire. Obviously, a couple days removed from his press conference, man. And I apologize about the tardiness. I just literally worked two 16-hour days in a row, legitimate 16-hour days, on the clock 16-hour days. I didn't have any stinking time to put on any content. So, the Bill Belichick hire, as excited as I am, as excited as I was, I just didn't have time to put out content because your boy's got to stink and still pay the bills, man. But I wanted to put out this video because, I've seen within the Carolina family a growing sense of optimism towards this hire. There was a lot of apprehension at first. There was a lot of people who were pushing back on this at first. I'm not going to lie, at first, until I really started to look into this and the possible benefits, I was one of those people. But it didn't take me very long to see um, just how much this could benefit the University of North Carolina. And this goes far beyond Bill Belichick. A lot of people want to focus on just squarely Bill Belichick, and they don't understand all the things that are going on behind that and I want to look at my buddy Rec. And he put out a video about why the Bill Belichick hire is going to be an absolute dumpster fire, basically. And I want to go through some things and tell you why I personally believe that uh nothing could be further from the truth, and why I have the optimism that I have. And I also want to dispel some of the issues that are brought up from without. Now, look, I like Rec. Rec is a good dude. I've been on the show a couple of times. He covers Georgia Tech athletics, and I will definitely put the link to this video down in the comment section. And I would say this: if you're interested in Georgia Tech athletics for whatever reason, or just you want to be entertained by a guy that can make you laugh, little rough around the edges, but that's my kind of stinking guy. You guys know that. Go and subscribe to Rec Talks channel, man. But real quick before we get into his video, this goes far beyond the scope of Bill Belichick. Carolina, for the first time, financially completely went all chips into the middle of the table on this thing, and they have opened up the financial coffers, okay? Donors, NIL, the rev share, everything that's coming up. Carolina is going to have so much money, they're really not going to know what to do with it. I'm talking about Ohio State money. I'm talking about Texas, Georgia, Alabama type stinking money, man. And for those that want to just focus on Bill Belichick, and we'll talk about how this goes far beyond Bill Belichick for the University of North Carolina program. This is not something that is just, a 2-3 year window where, this is your window to compete. No, this was a fundamental change within the athletics program at the University of North Carolina, to where they finally got onto the same, table for the most point as Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, these big name schools. College football is king. University of North Carolina understood that, and they put all their chips in the middle of the table, and they said, "Hey, if we want to be able to fund, basketball, which is obviously everyone's baby at UNC, which is obviously been hurt a little bit over the last couple of years because of the lack of funds to pay these players, especially as NIL has become a bigger thing. We just lost AJ to BYU, of all stinking places. We don't have the money to pay these players. Why? Because our football program, the apathy that's set in over there, it's directly, filtering down into the basketball program. And the same thing will happen as we get to the Olympic sports. Carolina understands that a strong football program will bleed down into the rest of the athletics at the university, which they take extremely serious, and it will only help because the money that it will generate. So they went all in, man. Now, that is the fundamental change in the understanding of how to run the athletics department at the University of North Carolina. Now, it's interesting because there are some that still are pushing back on that within UNC. And this is why this is one of the reasons the deliberation, I think, took so long. because there is a faction that believes college athletics should be college athletics. But then there are those who understand that this is big business now. This is what Georgia and Alabama understand. This is what Ohio State understands. This is big business, college football. It is the absolute king of the mountain. And you have to have a strong college football program if you want a strong athletics program. And I, for one, could not be happier with this change of thinking from within the athletics department at UNC. And I think that it's going to pay huge dividends over the long run. I think it's going to pay huge dividends short term. But without further ado, man, let's take a look at my boy Rec and see what some of these talking points are as far as, why this is such a dumpster fire. And I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible so it's not, too long of a video. But I think there's some really good things that we can discuss in here for those on the outside and on the inside who would push back on Bill Belichick's hire.
You guys seeing what I'm seeing? Am I in the twilight zone? Is North Carolina really going to hire Bill Belichick? Let's just set the stage for that. Bill Belichick's a guy that has been turned down by anyone dumb enough to answer his phone call. Bill Belichick got turned down by the Panthers. That would be like being turned down by one of these women of the night lot lizards off Fulton Industrial Boulevard.
All right, first, I got to address this real quick, okay? This whole idea that Bill Belichick was turned down by the Carolina Panthers, okay? You're looking at it from one lens. Bill Belichick is not just going to accept any football job. Let me ask you this, Rec. And for anybody, this is not just pointed at Rec, okay? This is just because he's not the only one that shares this sentiment. What have the Carolina Panthers done? And I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. What have the Carolina Panthers done over the course of the last decade that would insinuate to you that they care about winning football? They've got rid of DJ Moore. They got rid of Christian McCaffrey. Dave Tepper is an absolute moron. And that program, that organization, if you will, not program, it's the NFL. That organization, if you will, has become the laughingstock of the NFL. Ever since that Super Bowl run in 2015, after Cam fell off, that organization has been an absolute dumpster fire. They drafted Bryce Young #1 overall. And as much as everybody wants to try to act like this is some resurgent, maybe this is going to work. Listen, okay. We're not even taking advantage of our #1 draft picks. We're getting rid of all of our best players. What have the Carolina Panthers done that would insinuate they want to win football games? Nothing. So guess what? Bill Belichick is not going to take that job. He's not going to take that job. This is an interview. You don't go into an interview and they say, "Hey, why do you want this job?" Well, I need money. And no, they don't want to hear that. They know that you need money. Everybody needs money. We all got bills to pay. Okay. Why do you want this job? Okay. And on the flip side of that, do you have any questions for us? The worst thing you can do at a job interview is to say, "No, I don't have any questions right now." No, you need to be asking them about the resources that they can provide to you. It shows that you've done your investigatory work. It shows that you are invested in possibly getting this job. So when Bill Belichick goes in there and says, "Hey, you show me the reasons why not only I should take this job, but that you're going to give me the resources I need to win. Are you going to allow me to get the players that I need to win?" And they say no, or they don't give him what he thinks he needs. Guess what? Deuces, buddy. I don't need this job. I'll go take another job. I'd rather go and get into commentating. I'd rather go and get into commentating than come here and bang my head against the wall with an organization that doesn't want to win. I just had to get that out of my chest.
If you don't know about that, go off Fulton Industrial Boulevard to one of the most terrifying areas in the state of Georgia. Man's been turned down by everybody that was dumb enough to answer his call. Which probably tells you all you need to know about Bill Belichick. What was the owner for New England? Kraft. Evidently, when Atlanta interviewed him, Kraft talked to Arthur Blank and was just like, "Look, dude, we're all billionaires. We're all in this together. Don't hire that guy. That guy's a train wreck." Because Bill Belichick's a guy that you have to give carte blanche, just total and utter control of your program. So North Carolina, if you do hire this guy, Uh, Bubba Cunningham ain't gonna have nothing to do as far as football is concerned. He's gonna have to give all of that to Bill Belichick.
You know what? That makes absolute sense to me, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't know why that's a stinking big deal. I really don't know why that's a big deal. You know what I want my football coach to do? Be in charge of the football team. The AD, okay, is responsible for obviously resources, um, you know, uh, facilitating whatever the football program needs because he's the head of the athletic department. But as far as what goes on inside the football program, yeah, that's my football coach. So you saying he's got to delegate everything to Bill Belichick? That's his stinking job. His job as the coach is to be the head of the football program. I don't need the AD poking his head in here trying to tell me how to be a football coach. You want to be a football coach? Then you can try to get hired onto this job. You're the AD. That's what you do. Stay up there. Give me my resources. Let me stinking coach football. That's what I want. I want leaders to lead. And you know what leaders do? They delegate. And that's exactly what Bill Belichick is going to do. There's going to be a ton of delegation here. We'll talk about that here in a second, as far as recruiting is concerned, et cetera, et cetera. But, oh, he wants total control. Yeah, he's the GOAT. I want to stink and run this thing how I want to run this thing. And I have the track record. I have the resume that would insinuate I know what I'm doing. Not a problem with me. You know what, big guy? Here, if I'm the AD, you do what you stink and do. We're glad to have you on board.
And what this tells me about North Carolina is that they don't care about football. They just flat out do not care about football.
Hey, real quick, man, $10 million a year, 3-year guaranteed contract, possibly up to 5 years. Carolina doesn't care about football. They don't care about football so much that they went and they reached out, or the GOAT reached out to them, and now they're paying him, Alabama, Clemson, money to coach their stinking football program, which sets the precedent for coaches to come. But Carolina they don't care about football because they're not nickel and diamond, penny pinching and everything anymore. They're opening the stinking bag to get somebody, but that's how we know that Carolina doesn't care about football, because they're paying him double what they're paying Mac Brown. Ridiculous.
Which is fitting, because no one else cares about North Carolina football either. Okay. Right? This guy has been like just the most toxic name. I mean, there's a reason no one has anything good to say about this guy.
Now, this is actually funny because Rec actually had a video not too long ago, might have been a day or two ago, where he talks about the pussification of college football. I don't give a rip if anybody has anything good to say about somebody. That doesn't make you a good football coach. Regardless of what you think about policy, and that's not what the scope of this channel is, that's like you saying that the reason that Donald Trump is not a good president is because he says mean tweets. That's dumb. Okay? The correlation here is it's the paralleling here is it's the same thing. Well, I don't like the tweets you say, therefore you're not a good governor. Well, you don't pat me on the ass and tap me on the head enough, and you're not as sociable as I would like, therefore you're not a good football coach. Bro, okay, nobody's going to argue with the fact that maybe he's not the most sociable guy, but we're talking about a football coach, okay? And when you're looking at what do you want in a football coach, you know what? You could go the route of Deion Sanders, which, if I'm not mistaken, Rec doesn't like, because he is the epitome of a player's coach. Guess what Mac Brown was? A player's coach. Guess what Mac Brown got? 1-4 finishes in the last 3 years, aside from this year. Guess what Mac Brown got? 4 straight losses to NC State. How many straight losses to Georgia Tech? Last second of the game. That's what coaches, the players' coaches get. So if you're trying to dissuade me from this decision because this guy's gonna come in here and be about his stinking business, and he's not in here trying to be grandpa and pat kids on the ass, and his 24-year-old girlfriend's bringing baked cookies and stuff. Hey, buddy, you know what? You guys hire that over there. You can have that all stinking day. The difference here is that, and this is a big thing, and I'm going to try to move on because I don't want to make this too long. Unfortunately, and this is nothing towards Rec, and I'm saying this, with all due respect. Carolina has entered into with this hiring and the way that they're going to allocate their funds and the amount of funds that they're about to pour into this thing, we've completely entered into a different scope of college athletics. Okay. Georgia Tech is still your typical old school college athletic program that's going to do things the old school way. Carolina right now is making a statement. We are going to do things very similar and to a certain extent as far as the money that we're pouring into the football program, how much we're investing into the football program. We're doing Alabama and Georgia things. Okay. This is a complete fundamental change. This is understanding that this is no longer college athletics like you knew that it was when you were in high school. Okay. This is NFL light, literally. You want to know why Bill Belichick finally decided, you know what, I can come down to college football? Because it's the NFL. That's what it is. It's the NFL light. And there are all these different variables and layers that we can go through. And eventually we will when I have enough time. I got to stink and get to work here soon. So I got to put this together. I don't have time to delve into all of those intricate details right now, but we will do that. But this is no longer old school college football. This is NFL light. And the sooner that you understand that, the sooner that your program understands that, like, thank God Carolina has, the sooner that they will be able to graduate to the next level. Push the right play button here.
No one gives a 400-page, like, here's my 400-page coaching Bible pamphlet, which is not a manual as much as it is a manifesto of all of his demands that he's making. One of which includes hiring his son, who's I think currently the DC at Washington, or he's on staff at Washington. You have to hire me and you have to hire my son after I leave. So not only.
Hey, let me tell you something real quick about the Steve Belichick coach and waiting thing. Okay. Is that if that is the case, okay, that is, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that. Okay. I believe that, you know, obviously if you are good enough, then once your dad steps down, whenever that is, you come and you interview for the job, or you may be the DC or something, and they just go ahead and give you the interview, and then you take over for, you know, Bill Belichick. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that, but what I will say is this. Steve Belichick is one hell of a coach. I was listening to Fourth and One by Cam Newton, Cam Newton's podcast, and he was talking about, you know, will Bill Belichick be successful at the University of North Carolina? And obviously Cam played for Bill up in New England. And, you know, he specifically stated, yes. And not only that, he said all this talk about Steve Belichick being the coach in waiting. He said, bro, as a player, sign me stinking up, dude. Sign me up, because that guy knows his defense, man. That guy knows what the hell's going on. He used more choice language. Definitely go check out, you know, just YouTube, Fourth and One, Cam Newton, you know, Bill Belichick, and I'm sure that it will pop up. But Cam Newton, who's played for Bill Belichick, said, sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. Okay. He said the only coach, you know, he gave a really ridiculous reason as far as I'm concerned about why he would choose Coach Prime over Bill Belichick. And you can go and see that for yourself. And, you know, that kind of tells you all you need to know. However, you know, he said for his son, if I'm talking about, you know, who do I want my son to possibly play for? Like right now, if it was right now, hey, sorry, Prime, you know, but, you know, hey, man, I'm going to bring him over here to the guy that can scout talent. I'm going to bring him over here to the guy that can scout talent and get people to the league.
Why do you have to hire me? I get to pick the next guy you hire when I'm gone. That's insanity.
It's not my
favorite
favorite
thing.
thing.
Setting aside the fact, one, the guy has never coached college football. I think someone was saying Navy. I looked it up. His dad coached at Navy, and he ran around with his teddy bear way back in the day. So if you want to count that as coaching in college football, then the last time he coached in college football, Kennedy was talking about maybe possibly going to the moon one day. Wasn't Mac Brown too old, though? Mac Brown's 73. This guy's 72.
The only people that I remember like making that a real big deal were people from without. We didn't care necessarily about his age. If he went 10-2, 11-1, we wouldn't have been batting an eye. This was about going, 6-6, 8-4, losing 4 out of your last 5 games for 3 years straight. This was about, a terrible record against the Atlantic Coast Conference. This was about not taking advantage of weak schedules. This was about 4 and 5 stars on your roster and not developing them. This was about terrible in-game clock management issues. This was about poor special teams that never got fixed. This was about so many different things, man. The last thing that we really cared about was Mac Brown's age. Yes, initially we wanted a younger coach, okay? But the main issue with Mac was not that he was 73. This wasn't a Joe Biden situation, okay? This was, you're not performing on the football field. I don't care how old you are. I care about the X's and O's and, clock management, getting players in the right position, developing players, et cetera, et cetera.
I hear people saying, well, that doesn't matter if you're a North Carolina fan. That doesn't matter. I don't care how old he is. This is a young man's game, coaching college football today. It is a 24/7, 365 job. Look, I talked about in the portal yesterday. You got to recruit year-round. You've got to recruit your own roster year.
You know what? Brent Key does have to do that. You're 100% right. But once again, this is a fundamental misunderstanding or a lack of knowledge about what Carolina is doing with their football program. Listen, I'm telling you right now, man, Bill Belichick is not going into people's house, and this is where you got to kind of change your mindset with this being NFL light now. It's no longer your old college football. That's done and away with. We've talked about that ad nauseum. We miss the glory days, if you will. Well, it's changing. It's changing. And Bill Belichick is going to have a recruiting team. And that recruiting team is going to go into houses. And the recruiting team is going to say, hey, listen, 8-time Super Bowl champion. This is going to be an NFL program, pipeline program. And do you want to come here and play for the GOAT? And if you don't, then okay, touche. And guess what? Carolina's going to be able to offer some of the best athletes in the country a ton of money. So now we're also going to be able to compete financially with some of the big heads. So when you talk about, he's not going to have the energy to recruit, he doesn't have to, because guess what? Carolina has financially invested into a team of individuals who are going to do that for him. He specifically said, you recruit over here. This is the recruiting side of the house. Guess what? I'm in the coaching side of the house. You bring them to me. I coach them up. I get them to the National Football League.
Year round, you have to also negotiate contracts or be aware of that.
Who is more used to that than a guy who coached in the NFL since 1975? You know who's going to struggle with that? You know who's got that's new charted territory? Brent Key, Dabo Swinney. Name your college coach. You know who's not? That's not going to stink and blow his socks off. A guy that's been in the NFL since 1975.
It's not. I'll tell you why I say it's a young man's game. A lot of these coaches are bowing out, right? Kelly, all these, like they're stepping down to take easier jobs and go to the NFL. The NFL is an easier coaching job as far as what is required of you than what is required of you in college football. Setting aside the fact
that's if you didn't have all these layers of the onion that Carolina is implementing and putting in place. Once again, it's just like they're basically mimicking an NFL type structure. So this is not Brent Key and his coordinators, his GAs going out and talking to people. This is like it's a what's it called? A committee that, looks for talent. That's what it is. Bring him to me. I'm not saying that he won't have some input. Okay, but this ain't a 24/7 thing where he has got to, he's going to be out of breath or, he's going to have to be taking, his power shakes every morning so that he can keep up. No.
Is 150% the exception to the rule that someone makes a transition from college to NFL. It's even more the exception and rare that someone goes from the NFL to college. In fact, I cannot think of anyone that spent an entire 10-plus year career in the NFL being successful came to college and was successful.
If anybody could do it, don't you think it would be the GOAT?
Well, Nick Saban went from the NFL to college, yeah, but he was a college coach. Name me the guy. Jim Harbaugh is probably the best thing. So one coach out of all the coaches in history have been able to go back and forth and have success at both levels. Ask yourself, if you're a North Carolina fan, does that make sense?
Yes.
Does it make sense also that think about this. Let's say you were hit up for a job. Hey man, I really got to get a job. You interview at 500 places, only one calls you back. And when you answer that call, you start making demands of them, because that's what Bill Belichick's doing. Does that sound like someone that's going to be a good fit?
Yes. From the GOAT, some guy with a resume unlike anyone else's resume. You say he reached out to 500 people and only one called him back. No, actually, he had his eyes on Carolina from the get-go. And the only place that you're hearing about he's had his, he wanted to get back to the NFL. He was looking for, the best opportunity possible. This is what is, it's crazy to think about. He had his eyes on Carolina. Man. And I know a lot of people that just hate the University of North Carolina, just courses through their veins. They can't understand it. Hell, I can barely understand it, but he had his eyes on Carolina. So, when the GOAT comes in and says, I'm demanding X, Y, and Z so that I can be successful, I can actually make you great. Guess what? Yes, sounds like a good fit, because I'm tired of the stinking chocolate chip cookies and, hugs and kisses that we got from Coach Mac Brown. Love you, Coach. All right. But that was a different era. I want a guy that's about his stinking business. So, yes, come in, understand your worth. All right. Show them your resume. This is all my stinking experience. If you want this, one, it's going to come with a price. And the biggest price that it costs was that Carolina would buy in financially, not his coaching salary. He's making $20-something million a year at one point at New England. I think he's making $10 million a year right now. That's not what it's about. That you were gonna buy in financially for all the additional resources to completely restructure the Keenan Football Center, to completely restructure how they do football at UNC.
This not only is going to be the worst hire of this cycle, you mark my words. Just like I told you about Jeff Collins, which you can forget about him being on staff.
He
with
did
Belichick.
get that one right.
Those two guys couldn't be more diametrically opposed philosophically if they tried.
He did get that one right.
This is going to be one of the worst head coaching hires in college football history.
That is some strong words, my friend. The GOAT is going to be one of the worst hires in college football history.
In history. You're currently at 89th in recruiting. Your best recruit for North Carolina's last name is Butts.
Who's from Georgia?
And I couldn't think of a more fitting term for what's going to happen. You're probably...
And Georgia Tech recruited him.
Not going to recruit markedly better than 89th. How do I know? Listen to anyone that's played for him. Julian Edelman, Tom Brady, Gronkowski were all asked, how do you see, Bill Belichick in recruiting? They all laughed.
See, this is the fundamental misunderstanding. He's not going to be recruiting. Okay, this is like you getting invited to a camp. All right, and then you go to said camp. You don't know the stinking coach necessarily. And I'm not saying that there won't be relationships fostered. Once again, Cam Newton talks about Bill Belichick's relationship with the players. Most of it is strictly professional. This is a professional thing, both on and off the field. But, to say, I can't imagine Bill Belichick in there recruiting. He's not going to.
They all laughed. And for people that are laughing at me like, oh, well, you root for Georgia Tech.
So when you phrase the question, how can you imagine? I think it's funny too. It would be funny sitting there seeing Bill Belichick on somebody's couch saying, hey, do you want to come play for me at the University of North Carolina? That would be comical. But, when you ask that question, it's with the misunderstanding that that's not what's going to transpire at all. He's got a team that will do that for him.
Tech, who cares? You ran the triple option. You don't care about football. As far as recruiting, Bill Belichick and Paul Johnson are hand in hand. This is a Bill Belichick.
Thank God Bill Belichick isn't recruiting.
recruiting pitch. Get ready for it, North Carolina. I mean, come here or you don't. I mean, we don't really effing want you anyways. We could go get someone probably better than Foxborough, but sign if you want to. That's his attitude. If he couldn't get along with grown men in the NFL, do you think he's going to get along with all the prima donnas of college football?
Bro, let me tell you something, man. I'm around some NFL guys during football season. I don't need to go into the scope of, how that happens, but I can tell you something from anecdotal evidence, okay? There's not much difference between 18 and 22-year-old college football players and 22 to 30-year-old NFL players. We're talking about a group of individuals that have never held a real job in their entire life, like an actual real job. So if you think that you just get out of college and all of a sudden you become some bastion of society, or all of a sudden you're just this hardworking lunch pail guy because you're in just a tremendous physique, you got a tremendous physique, and no, you've never really had a real job. So, when you talk about, well, he can't even, be around grown men. They're the same as they are in college. These are kids that, they've never really been introduced into the real world that me and you live into, Rick. So it's not like I think there's a misunderstanding of what happens when you get out of the league and you go to the NFL. It's not the growing up party I think that you think that it is.
It's going to be a disaster. And then you say, well, hold on a second. He knows X's and O's. He knows X's and O's, though. Greatest NFL coach of all time, right? Good buddies with Nick Saban. I wrote this down because I knew I was going to record this in the car. What is Bill Belichick's record with Tom Brady? It's 249-75. Do you know what his record without Tom Brady is? 83-104.
This is a common argument, man. Bill Belichick was nothing without Tom Brady. First and foremost, he won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. His first 3 were basically, the fact that he was, a defensive mastermind. Okay. And then the last 3, yeah, I would agree that, Tom was slinging that thing around. But let's go back even further than that. Drew Bledsoe was the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Who's the one who decided to pull Drew and insert Tom Brady? That would be Bill Belichick. And he caught a ton of heat. I'll never forget, man. I'll never forget that being all over ESPN, man. All over ESPN. Drew Bledsoe, oh my goodness, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL is being yanked for Tom Brady. And so there is a certain truth. I'm not saying it's all because of this, but there is a certain truth that if he didn't make that decision, maybe Tom Brady doesn't have 6 Super Bowls. Maybe Tom Brady doesn't. Maybe he's only got 3 or 4. Maybe it takes him a couple more years to actually get in, and do the things that made him great. I'm not saying that Belichick made Tom Brady. Tom Brady made Tom Brady. I completely understand that. But I am saying that somebody had to stink and see what we all eventually saw. That was Bill Belichick. How about, the fact that he hired or he drafted the quarterback from Kent State in the 7th round, a young man named Julian Edelman, and then turned him into one of the best slot receivers in the NFL. That's called scouting talent, man. That's not something that everybody can do. So between him and Lombardi, his GM, these guys have a great track record of scouting talent. And I think that that's something you got to take into consideration, man.
After Tom Brady left,
he struggled. Nobody's gonna stink and debate that, man.
Belichick basically ran him off. I mean, it's well known now that they had major beef. He runs off the greatest quarterback of NFL history, immediately wins a Super Bowl with a team. When was the last time Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl?
Tampa Bay
ever won a Super Bowl? I don't know. I'm a college football fan. 29-39 after Tom Brady leaves.
And what have they done since then? Without Bill.
So the only shot y'all have of Bill Belichick working out is if Tom Brady somehow has 3 more years of eligibility you can get out of him, and he plays for Bill Belichick at North Carolina. Anything shy of that, it's over. It's over. And I think North Carolina fans, if you're honest with yourselves, you're not excited about this.
Bro, I am stoked. I am absolutely stoked, bro.
There's 5 other guys you'd rather have than Bill Belichick.
Please name them, Rec.
Here's the other thing. Even if he does have success at North Carolina, you're screwed, because he's 14 wins away from being the winningest NFL coach of all time.
And he could give 2 rips less, bro. He's got 8 Super Bowls. Don Shula couldn't touch that with a stinking 57-foot pole. It doesn't matter. And guess what? Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are right behind him. If he does get it, let's say he bolts in 2 years, a year, 2, 3 years, whatever they're saying he's going to do, and he does get it, guess what? Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are coming for that record. So he's already recognized as the GOAT. He does not need Don Shula's all-time wins record. Once again, I think this is just it's reaching. That's what I'll put. Out of respect for Rec, man, I think it's just they're reaching.
So let's say he wins 7 games next year and 10 games the year after.
He's winning more than 7 next year.
He's gone to the first NFL team that will hire him.
He's gone after winning 10 games in the second year.
He would be gone.
A lot of speculation.
After year 1 if an NFL team would hire him. And here's the other thing, talking with some North Carolina fans, my thing is, why are you not hiring Jamie Chadwell? Why are you not beating Jamie Chadwell's desk down? Oh, well, he had some...
Jamie Chadwell or the greatest coach of all time. Jamie Chadwell and a $4 million NIL deal or NIL package, or the GOAT. And we're going to open that thing up. We're going to do full rev share, and we got 20+ mil in NIL.
Some NCAA violations and issues in the wake of leaving Coast.
Because guess what? People have to donate. People have to be invested in the program. Guess what? I'm sorry, man. Jamie Chadwell is not getting people. He's not moving the needle that way. You know who does? The GOAT.
Carolina. You don't think Bill Belichick has a storied history of breaking the rules? Come on, man. Come on. They've literally named scandals after what happened in New England with this guy. Now, luckily, there are no rules in college football anymore, so that's probably not going to matter. But this is going to be an absolute failure. The only thing that I'm pissed about is that the cowards that are the North Carolina Tar Heels dodge us for 4 years. Isn't that interesting? We redo all the schedules. North Carolina and Miami end up dodging us over the next few years.
That's the ACC. And right after we redid the schedules, guess what? We played you guys in Chapel Hill, and it could have been an L for the Yellow Jackets. It wasn't. And that was one of the games. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the things we've been seeing. That's why we had to get Mac out of here. End up kicking a field goal. Could have went up by scoring the touchdown. You throw the ball 3 times inside the 10 with the best running back in college football, not getting a touch. And then you give up a 67-yard run basically as time expires. Those are the reasons he had to go. Those are the things that Bill Belichick will not allow to happen. And that's why there is going to be a fundamental change in the power structure of the Atlantic Coast Conference here very soon, my friend.
Interesting. It's not going to work out. If I had to guess, prepare yourselves for this. First of all, I have a 100% track record with North Carolina head coaching predictions. Or not coaching predictions. I told you Jeff Collins wasn't going to work out. Makes history. 70-50. Awful defense. Awful defenses. Defense is so bad that Mac Brown didn't even get to retire on his own terms.
It's not because of Jeff Collins. It's because of Mac Brown hiring, Jay Bateman, Gene Chizik, and Jeff Collins. So, Jeff Collins is, I know you guys love to think that this goes all the way back to Georgia Tech. This goes back to 6 years of being atrocious on that side of the football and squandering uh, you know, Sam Howell, Drake May, and now Marion Hampton. It's not Jeff Collins. Very small piece of the stinking pie.
It's going to be worse under Bill Belichick.
It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse than 70-50 against JMU under the GOAT.
You're going to see seasons like Georgia Tech saw under Jeff Collins under Bill Belichick. It's going to be an absolute disaster.
Those are 3-win seasons, by the way. Remember, he said, let's just say that they win 7 games in year 1 and then 10 in year 2. But now we're going to see Jeff Collins type years. 3-9. I think he went 3-9 like 3 straight years, something like that.
He's not going to be able to recruit.
He's got people to do that for him.
Going to have record numbers of people hitting the portal after the first year.
That's fine because record numbers of people will come in from the portal.
You might even have some kind of crazy scandal. The only good news for you is that how old is Bill Belichick's girlfriend? 23?
23. 24.
Hell, she probably can. She's college age. He can just drop her off to class. And
be a great time to work on your master's.
And then, go have a spitz or whatever geriatric people like him do. And coach your football team. So let me know what you guys think of this. I mean, the only correct answer is this is an awful idea. But if you are a North Carolina fan, I would like to know what you think because, look, Georgia Tech was going to hire Willie Fritz. C-Dog and I both said, no, he's too old. College football is not is a young man's game. We don't want this guy, and we've been proven right in that as well. So let me know what you guys think. Y'all have a good one.
So there you have it, man. Like I said, Rec is my guy, man. I like Rec. I definitely would say go subscribe to his channel as much as I disagree with his sentiment about Carolina athletics and the Bill Belichick hire. But real good dude, man. And he's got some very entertaining content, man. So like I said, if you are interested in Georgia Tech athletics at all, definitely go and give his channel a like, and subscribe to the channel, man. But, like I said, just to encapsulate everything that we just kind of talked about here. I didn't even notice that Ramesses was in the back. There he goes. Just to encapsulate everything that we're talking about here, man. Here's the thing that the national media is not talking about, okay? This is what the national media is not talking about as we stink and get out of here. This goes far beyond Bill Belichick, okay? This is more so about the University of North Carolina completely changing the way that they go about college athletics and fully investing into college football. Everybody says that this is a basketball school. Okay, I understand where that comes from. But Carolina is saying we want to be elite. And those are the exact words. This is not about competing. This is about being elite. And when I think of elite, I think of Georgia and Alabama. When I think of what makes them be able to be elite, it all starts with stinking money. And Carolina's got money. And Carolina has been able to, with this hire, completely change, the amount of money that they're paying to coaches, assistant coaches, completely restructuring how they do football and recruiting. And then also the money that they're going to be able to go and get some of the best talent in the country. They're going to be able to compete with Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. That's what changes this whole thing. This is Bill Belichick, and then it's after Bill Belichick. That is what the national media is not focusing on, is that this goes beyond the next 3 years. This is what makes this amazing is Carolina's decision to fully invest into college football. And nobody's talking about that. Everybody is consumed with Bill Belichick, which, I think that it deserves, obviously, its fair share of, press. It's fair share of press. I'll tell you this, man, for 3 days, and the college football playoffs is coming up. All ESPN and every stinking talk show in the country could talk about was Bill Belichick being hired by North Carolina. All good, baby. All good. There's no such thing as bad press. So the name brand is all over the stinking place. And kids in the portal, kids that are on teams already, are saying, man, I got to go check Carolina out. The GM said, hey, listen, If you want to come and play for the greatest coach of all time, enter your name in the transfer portal. We want you. And he's talking about, you know, high level athletes. We've already seen players reaching out to guys like Archie Manning and stuff like that. I cannot overemphasize the fact that this goes far beyond Bill Belichick. This is the university's decision to invest, like a Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, into the program, man. So, like I said, go unsubscribe to Rex channel, man, and let him know how you feel about this. Be respectful, man. And I hopefully I was able to articulate some reasons why I would disagree with what a lot of people on the outside are thinking about this hire, man. I, for one, am not cautiously optimistic. I am extremely optimistic about where this program can go. I do believe 100% that this is a home run swing and the ball's right down the middle. And, Bubba Cunningham, the Board of Trustees, and the University of North Carolina, with their fundamental switch and how they're handling things, hit an absolute grand slam. And what we're dealing with is a lot of individuals or people from other programs that are still trying to find that gapper, bro. They're trying to hit one between left center and out in left center. They're trying to leg out a double, and I understand it. Not everybody can do what the University of North Carolina just did. But there's a change coming, man. There is a change coming, and it is huge for the University of North Carolina. And as a fan, I could not be more pleased. So please, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Comment down in the comment section what you think about this video, about what you think about my man Rec, and any other pundit out there that's trying to knock this Bill Belichick hire. And we will catch you on the next one, college football family and Tar Heel Nation. Go Heels.